Yeah, I think that might have been a mistake. So the thinking was that I'd use this one big table to house the fantasy realm project. So we've got 4 areas. Over here, we've got the Ice Mountain, and we have the open seas, we have the kingdom, and then we have the forest. All 4 sections, all in one place. We can do away with the rift idea to explain why the city is next to the fantasy stuff. We've just got one big map. That's great. That's kind of what I want. Got loads of room, enough for everything I want to put on here, and more. Really good. But the problem I've got is, what do I do with the sets that were on there? Now, there was quite a lot of city modulars. Previously, I've stored these under the tables, but under the tables getting a bit full. They're all lit, so I can't really take them apart very easily. So I'm having to store them as whole buildings. So I have like every modular and more. So under here is getting really full. I'm tight for space, so I need to be able to display them somewhere. I thought about some shelves in the rest of the room, but actually the most efficient use of space seems to be, when I've done some rough drawings, actually making a city layout. So I thought we could split it into 2 cities. Over here we can have the new pop culture city. It's a huge mess, but we're work in progress here. So above the part storage we've got a condensed pop culture city, and we can sort of say it's condensed and compact because it's dense and it's a nice downtown New York kind of vibe where there is density, there are buildings on top of buildings, and everyone's living in a small space. Kind of works. Kind of works. And then we've got this space over here, which is where Pop Culture City was. And what I've done is bring the Ninjago buildings back out again and put them at the back, so they're like on a raised terrain. We've had to sacrifice docks, but we have got room at the back for workshops if I do decide to pick that up. And then kind of the story is that then would connect down to this lower level where we have a park with the Lantern Festival, and then we've got a road separating the city. Well, it's not, we can't really call it a city, it's like 5 buildings, but we have some buildings, and again there's quite a lot of, we'll call it density rather than crowdedness because it sounds better, but we have that, and it's again fine-ish, but it's not been sitting well with me. I've been doing this over the past week or so, moving things around and trying different combinations of buildings to see what I want to do. This I am happy with. This is what I wanted. This is the distinct areas. I said more than enough space over here. It's just what I do with the rest. So I brought my little boy up to see what he thought. He does come up every now and then. He likes to play with the sets. We let him play with the sets. We encourage him to tell stories, and he's got some good ideas. He's 6 now, so his creativity is brilliant, and a really good input for it. And he just said the city's too small and Ninjago shouldn't be above it. And he's right on both of those points. The city is, it's not a city, is it? It literally is 6 buildings. And then Ninjago at the back, visually it sort of looks fine, but it makes no sense. I've tried it raised before and it just doesn't make any sense. Likewise, I can't say I'm totally happy with Pop Culture City over here either. It's a bit of a, it's hard to tell while it's all a bit of a mess, but believe me, I did try it where without all the mess on there, and it still looks a bit crowded and a bit pants. Sort of to extend the thought a bit, we could have Arkham Asylum at the back there instead of Krusty Burger. We have got 2 modulars that we can sort of say are pop culture-y. The Jazz Club, I've put Muppets in before. The police station, we could put some fictional police characters in there, GCPD and Chief Wiggum, that kind of thing. Yeah, real struggle. I think I'm back to the drawing board. Right, I'm going to take you through the plan for for changing things up before I do it, in case I decide not to do it. But the plan is, Fantasy goes back on this table, and this table. Sorry, this is my work desk. And this table. Fantasy there. Kingdom at the back, raised more than it is at the moment, so we've got the castle right up at the top, and then the forest below it, I think makes most sense. Forest going into castle with medieval village. All those sets kind of work together. I can be happy with that. Over here, we can move the mountain and pirates, and that's gonna be a stretch, especially when Tortuga arrives. We'll have to see how that goes. There are options to extend this area. I don't need those shelves above it. They've been there a long time. I'd love both those sets, but they can go somewhere else, in the room or in the hall. So the mountain doesn't actually take up that much room because it's vertical. So we could squish it into like 1.5, 2 base plates width and just go high up, and then we've got the space at the bottom for maybe Tortuga at one end and Barracuda Bay in the middle, Eldorado at the back. Again, if it fits, if it doesn't fit, there are long-term plans to swap this, which is currently my build table, with my work desk and work from this again. So I go back down to having one table, and in which case we can extend the water over here. Basically swapping the tables around, extending the water area, and then that gives us an extra bit of area for pirates and for the open seas. So, and again, we can do it chunk by chunk. I can do mountains, I can do pirates, and we don't all have to do them together. We can kind of just put sets on the table for now and focus on different areas, and then it gives me all this space back for city, but trying to incorporate Ninjago as well into that cityscape. In doing a clear up over the past week, I've put a lot of modular buildings away, and they are currently stored, and I'm not disappointed about that. It's nice to have a bit of a change. It would be nice to get Ninjago back out. It's only been away for like a month and a half, but I have a feeling that January, springtime next year, there may be more additions that I'm going to want to make to that area, so I want to have that option. I also have quite a long-held want to do the City of Lanterns Megapolis Monkey Kid build and put that somewhere, and that might be able to feature in that area with City. At this point, undecided whether we do raised City with subway underneath, or whether we do something that's more multi-level City. Not sure, but it might also be nice to put Diagon Alley in there as well. I used to have Diagon Alley in the city. It never really worked once I got Gringotts, because it just took up too much space. It could still be an issue, but it might be worth trying. It's fine on the shelf. Expansion in the corner, Simpson's house on top. It's fine on the shelf, but it's probably the best part of a grand. Like when you think about it, it's all lit, and it would be nice to have that as a focal point rather than something sat on display. So that's the plan. I guess that's this week's task, try and make this plan happen. And you'll know from the next clip whether I've done it or whether I've changed my mind again. Right, I've rearranged everything, and here's what it's looking like. So we have that pop culture corner in the background with Avengers Tower, Daily Bugle, Sanctum, and then we've got Krusty Burger at the back to be replaced by Arkham Asylum at some point. We have the room for some modular buildings there. We've got a nice street there. We've got Diagon Alley as an alley in the city with Gringotts at the back. We've got some more modular buildings. We then drop down a level and we've got the museum with its raised basement and what will become a seasonal park. So botanical gardens there for now. The idea being we can change that. We can stick a cafe underneath. We've got the subway running underneath the main city, and then over here is kind of where, well, it's Ninjago, but it's Ninjago in a different way than I thought of it before. I'd always thought of Ninjago as like a seaport really. And I think that's because of the Destiny's Bounty, and the Destiny's Bounty is a ship, and so a ship in the sea. But I was watching the Mr. Buckyboo video earlier this week, and he mentioned about Ninjago being more like Venice and having like canals, and it just clicked that if I think of it like that, it's so much easier to integrate it into a city than trying to think it has to be part of the sea, especially because I've put them on Mills plates, so they're raised by a brick. It's always then difficult at sea level that I want to be at base plate level plus a plate and a tile. I've then got, it just gets complicated. Thinking of it like this means I can have the Lantern Festival, I can have something that connects the park to the canal system, maybe a little dock. We've got room at the back for more stuff, or we can push the docks further back. We've got room for workshops back here. We've got markets, city, and then these 8 wide plates and 16 at the back can be canal. And I think that works really nicely. And we can mingle the canal in, we can make it go into the park. It becomes like Ninjago waterways rather than a Ninjago city seaport, and that just works for me. I'm really pleased with how that fits in the city now. That's the closest I've ever come to having it set in my head of how Ninjago works in a Lego city. On the other tables, we have... So on the other tables, this is the forest medieval area. We've raised a castle at the back. We have a train line in front that maybe doesn't fit, but that's where Orient Express is going to go. All the way across, sort of like a viaduct thing separating the medieval world and the forest world. Kind of works if you think of it as the train track and then Orient Express, I forgot the name. And the Orient Express is its own story. Remember, each part of this is a story. Lionheart Castle is a story, Medieval Village is a story. They're all chapters in a book, if you like. And if you think of Orient Express as its own chapter, where it can have its own story, remember as well, each of these areas are playable, then it kind of works. I'm happy with it anyway. We've got the Fallen Keep Dungeons and Dragons set at the back, and we've got the Enchanted Forest in the middle. We can have where the Tall Neck is, more of a swampy, witchy area, and then we've got the wetlands here with Riverside Scholars, maybe Temple of Ejitsu goes behind there, and this kind of comes together really nicely as well. Obviously there's a phenomenal amount of work to do, but I've got the space, I think it works well. And then the last table. Okay, so this table is a bit more of a mess, but it again does what I think we need it to do. If you sort of get past the mess, we've got on this side the mountains, we have the foothills at the bottom with the Viking village. We'll then do a slope going up with the Hogsmeade set, with each building on its own base plate or on its own plate, going up to the top, so it curves up that way, with then some sort of fortress at the back, and it'll probably come out to like 2 base plates, which then means we've got room for Eldorado Fortress at the back. We can have a facade of Barracuda Bay, or the Barracuda ship coming out of the wall. We've got room for the Britlink Designer Program Tortuga set at the back, There's another like pirate island, and then that should give us room for the lighthouse, which is currently just down here. The lighthouse in the middle. And again, we've got kind of open sea, pirate, Tortuga, ice, mountain. And if we wanted to get more height, then we can. As I said before, we can take this shelf out. But again, it's coming together. It's exciting. I've got 3 distinct tables, 3 distinct projects. Arguably this is multiple projects. We have Ninjago Waterways, we have the park and the museum, we've got the modular Diagon Alley bit, we've got the superhero comic booky bit over here. It is arguably like multiple different things going on. We've also got the subway underneath where we can do more underground scenes, turtles, the cafe, a bank vault. We've got modulars out that I'm not 100% sold on being out all the time, like the bank, like Parisian Restaurant, Palace Cinema, Corner Garage even. These are ones that I don't absolutely love. I don't mind them going under the table when new modulars come out, other things want to come in that I want to replace them with. It's a bit more flexible. Because Diagon Alley's gone from that shelf, I have room for display up there, so Krusty Burger can go up there. We've got expansion on the top with the Spider-Man Bridge Battle. Did try the Spider-Man Bridge Battle here. I had one of my first layouts, I had it coming out of the wall with a train, and Spider-Man trying to catch the train. I thought that would be quite cool to incorporate, but it just doesn't fit in here. It's too tight. It's just too tight, it doesn't work. So that's there for now. But a tram track along here, so we've got a tram line. It's good, it does everything that I need it to do. Obviously we've got to fix up the road. We've got the market street scene tucked in behind there, behind the deli. Yeah, kind of works right now. Obviously, again, loads to do, but I feel like it can be broken down into chunks, and so it's more manageable. And I think that's really the big takeaway with all this, is I tried to do too much again. I tried to do one big fantasy diorama all at once. And yeah, I'd split it up in my head into 4 sections, but they were 4 massive sections, and I didn't know where to start. It was just a mess. We've split it up, we can work on different things. If I'm in a city mood, I can work on the city. If I'm in a Ninjago mood, I can work on Ninjago. Same goes for these areas. Depending on what kind of mood I'm in, depending on what sets come out, what set I've just built, it just kind of works. Really pleased. So a bit of a longer update than normal, but a lot's got done. I've gone through, 3 different layouts in this update. I mean, that's just the process of displaying Lego, right? Should we keep the Batwing up there? Anyway, let me know what you think. If you've got any other ideas you want to throw in there, anything you think I've done wrong with the layout, let me know, and make sure you subscribe for future updates. Thanks for watching.